Beneath the willow tree where time bends soft and slow, I found you waiting, heart in hand, beneath the curtain of green whispers. You stood not like a stranger, but as though the earth had always known your steps, as if the wind bent to kiss your shoulder, and even the hush of the sky paused to listen when you spoke. There was no thunder, no sudden spark, just the gentlest unfolding, like petals opening to morning light. I saw you, and in the stillness of your gaze, I saw every chapter I had not yet lived. You smiled, and the roots of something eternal wound their way into my spirit. You spoke my name like it had always belonged to you. Not a grand declaration, not the echo of legends, but something more sacred, an ordinary magic. And that day, under that willow tree, I swore I would return to that moment again and again, in dream or thought or memory, because the world had tilted just enough for love to slip in, quiet, sure, like sunlight sneaking through branches, finding only us beneath its gaze. We spoke of stars as if they belonged in our hands, constellations mapped along your collarbone and galaxies tucked into your smile. The world outside that willow tree melted, reduced to background noise against the hush of our breath and the rhythm of your heartbeat. Every word from you felt like an invitation to stay, to lean deeper into the spell we wove with simple laughter and unsaid confessions. I memorized the way you watched me, not as a puzzle, not as a prize, but as a wonder unraveled gently, endlessly. You never rushed my silences or demanded their end. Instead, you met them with your own, and together they became the language we understood best. There was no need to shout what we felt. The willow knew, the breeze whispered it, and every falling leaf carried pieces of our story. It was in the way your fingers brushed mine when you thought I wasn't looking. It was in the way your presence quieted the war inside me. I never knew love could look like stillness, like shelter, like home, but there with you it did. It always has. When distance pulled us from our tree and days filled with noise, I carried pieces of you like prayer beads in my pocket. A smile, a phrase, a moment you once held my hand too tightly like you never wanted to let go. All these were relics I used to light my way back to you. Because love, true love, does not need constant presence to prove its truth. It only needs memory, the thread that binds us across miles and days. And I remembered you in color, even when life turned to gray. I remembered the scent of your skin warmed by sunlight, and the quiet strength in your voice when the world felt too heavy for me to carry. I remembered how you once told me that love is not grand gestures, but the courage to show up over and over again, especially on the hard days. And so I showed up in thought, in dream, in every beat of the heart that bore your name. And maybe the willow tree was far, but you, your love, never were. You were always the compass pulling me gently back to myself. There were nights I dreamt of your silhouette under a sky of fireflies, the willow swaying behind you like a curtain of stars, and I would wake with the ache of missing something sacred. You are not just a lover, you are a rhythm in my soul, a pattern I had always been moving to even before I knew your name. And when people ask me what love is, I think of you in quiet ways. I think of how you listened when I couldn't speak, how you waited when I didn't know the way, how you believed in us even when I wavered. Love, you taught me, is not perfection. It is persistence, it is forgiveness, it is choosing again and again, every morning, every storm. And I have chosen you in every life I can imagine, in every version of me that has ever existed. Even when I doubted myself, even when I pulled away, your love never flinched. It held, it endured, it bloomed in the silence, and it bloomed again when I finally found my way back to you. There were days when words felt too small, when love felt too wide to contain in letters or verses. So I wrote you in acts of kindness, in notes left tucked inside your bag, in the dinners cooked just the way you liked them, in the simple brushing of hair behind your ear. I loved you in the in-between moments, the quiet morning stretches, the shared coffee sips, the glance across a room that said, I see you. I didn't need fireworks or the poetry of 1,000 moons. I needed only your hand in mine, steady and sure. And even when you were tired, even when the world demanded too much from you, you still made space for me. For us, I saw the way your shoulders bore the weight of unspoken dreams, and I wanted nothing more than to be the place where you could lay them down. You have always been my shelter, and I have always been your mirror, reflecting the wonder you try to hide. With you I learned that love is not just what we say, but what we choose to show up for, again and again. In the seasons we struggled, in the moments where silence stretched between us like a bridge about to break, I still saw love in your eyes. Tired maybe, uncertain, sure, but always love. We are not without our storms, no love worth having is, but even in the thunder you reached for me. Even in the dark, you found my hand, and so I held on. We made promises not out of obligation but out of reverence, because loving you was never a duty, it was a choice, a gift, a fire that kept me warm when the world grew cold. You were not perfect, and neither was I, but together we made something close to holy. There were days we stumbled, days we hurt each other unknowingly, but never once did we stop choosing, and in that I found something more powerful than fairy tales. I found the raw enduring truth of what it means to be human, to love another soul in all its complexity. You and I, we built this love from the inside out, with hands that weren't always steady, but always willing. Do you remember the night we returned to the Willow, older, bruised by life, but still holding each other like lifelines? You looked at me as though no time had passed, as if the world hadn't tried to change us, and I saw in your gaze the boy I first loved, and the man I now cherish. You told me you still dream of our first day there, how the sunlight made my eyes look like something you wanted to live in forever. I laughed, because I never saw myself as beautiful, but you always did. You made me believe that love wasn't something I had to earn, but something I already was. And in that return, that quiet circling back to where it all began, we planted something even deeper than before. The willow had grown as had we, but beneath it the same sacred hush lived on, as if it too remembered what was born there. And in that stillness we kissed, not like a beginning, not like an end, but like something infinite, like coming home after a long journey. When I look at you now I see all the versions of you I've loved, the one who first held my hand beneath the tree, the one who stayed when I faltered, the one who never stopped believing in us even when everything else felt like it was crumbling. You are not just my love, you are my witness, my co-author, my melody. You are the silence I long for in a noisy world, the calm I crave in the storm of living. With you I have discovered a kind of peace I didn't know I deserved. And still you love me, not in the grandiose way stories tell, but in the deeper, quieter way that lasts. You love me in coffee shared and burdens lifted, in soft looks and arms that always make space. And I will love you as long as I have breath, and even longer, because beneath the willow tree, something eternal took root. And even if the world should change 1,000 times, even if we forget our names, that love will still grow wild and free, untouched by time, unbroken by life. Sometimes I wonder what the willow would say if it could speak. Perhaps it would whisper of the day we first met, of the promises made in silence, of the laughter that floated like music through its leaves. Perhaps it would speak of storms weathered, of tears shared, of kisses that healed what words could not. It would say, I think that love like ours is rare, not perfect, but real, not easy, but worth it. And I would nod, for I know it to be true. You have given me more than just love. You have given me a place to rest, a heart to trust, a soul that meets mine in rhythm. And in return I give you all that I am, all that I hope to be. I will meet you again and again, beneath this tree or any other, because where you are there I belong.